It was a Saturday morning when the incident happened. An 18-passenger bus, making its usual early trip from Lagos to Enugu, left right on the dot at 6 a.m. The passengers on board were a mix of young couples, students, and among them, the main character of a story, Mr. Donatus, traveling with his wife. Now, Mr. Donatus was a hardworking man in his 40s, someone who had spent years in the city. Every year, just once a year, he'd make the same trip back to his village in Enugu to visit his parents. This year was special though, because for the first time, he was finally bringing his wife along. His parents had always wanted to see their grandchildren someday. And though Mr. Donatus and his wife didn't have kids yet, this visit was a big step. But there was a twist. Before the journey, Mr. Donatus had been warned more than once. His pastor had told him not to travel with his wife for reasons he didn't fully explain. "My son," he said, "come and sit." Mr. Donatus walked in and sat down. He wiped his forehead. He had come to tell the pastor about the journey, just the way he did every year. "Pastor, I want to travel to Enugu next week," he said, "but this time, I want to go with my wife." The pastor closed his Bible gently. He didn't smile. He didn't nod. He just stared at Mr. Donatus like he was reading something written on his face. Then he said in a soft, heavy voice, "My son, do not travel with your wife." The words were simple, but they fell like a big stone. Mr. Donatus's eyebrows went up. "Pastor, why?" he asked. The pastor shook his head slowly. "I cannot explain all," he said. "I prayed. I waited. I prayed again. I saw danger. I saw trouble sitting on that road like a shadow with long hands." He leaned forward. "Please listen," the pastor said. "Obedience is better than sacrifice." His voice was low, but it was strong, like thunder hiding inside a cloud. Mr. Donatus rubbed his chin. His heart beat once, hard. He tried to smile, but the pastor's face did not change. "Pastor," he said quietly, "I cannot leave her behind. She is my wife. We promised to do things together." The pastor looked down at his Bible. He touched the cover with his fingers. "My son," he said, "there are trips a man takes alone. There are days when you carry only yourself. Not because you do not love your wife, but because danger knows her name before you reach the road." He looked straight into Mr. Donatus's eyes. "Promise me you will think about it. If you must travel, go alone." Something cold moved through the room, the way harmattan wind enters a house through small cracks. But Mr. Donatus only swallowed and nodded slowly. "I will think about it," he said. The pastor sighed, long and tired. "May God guide you," he said. But his eyes still held fear, deep fear. When Mr. Donatus reached home later that evening, Ruth was in the kitchen frying plantain. The sweet smell filled the room like warm honey. "How was church?" she asked, turning the plantain with a wooden spoon. He sat down on the edge of the bed. "The pastor said something strange," he began. She looked back. "What did he say?" "He said I should not travel with you," he said slowly. "He said he saw danger on the road." Ruth stopped turning the plantain. Her mouth opened slightly. Then she let out a small laugh, a short, sharp one. "Oh, that pastor," she said. "He is just old-fashioned." She dropped the spoon and wiped her hands. "There is no danger anywhere," she said. "Nothing will happen. We will go together." "But he looks serious," Mr. Donatus said softly. "He said obedience is better than sacrifice." Ruth shook her head. "Obedience to what?" she asked. "Nothing will happen. Do not let fear enter your mind. We will go. Your parents want to see me. I want to see them. Let us go together." She walked closer, put her hand on his shoulder and smiled gently. "Trust me," she said. "We will be fine." He looked at her soft face. He looked at her eyes that held no fear. His heart softened. He nodded. "All right," he said. "We will go together." And just like that, he agreed, letting Ruth's words overrule his doubts. The second warning came through an old woman in the market. It was a few days to the trip, and Mr. Donatus had gone to the market to get some gifts he would be giving his parents as usual when he got to the village when he met the old woman. He stopped at a small wooden table where an old woman sold tomatoes. Her back was bent like a tired tree. Her wrapper was faded, but her eyes were bright, sharp like two small torches. "Good morning, Mama," he said kindly. "Good morning, my son," she answered, arranging the tomatoes. He picked some tomatoes and placed them in his nylon bag. "How much?" he asked. The old woman told him. He counted the money and stretched his hand to give her the change. The old woman looked at his hand. Then she pushed it away gently. "Keep your money," she said. He blinked. "Mama, please take it," he said, surprised. But she shook her head, slowly, deeply, like someone shaking away a heavy dream. Her eyes did not leave his face. "Listen to me," she said in a quiet but firm voice. "Travel alone. Do not change the way you travel every year." He felt something cold move through his stomach. He frowned. "Mama, why are you saying this?" The old woman reached forward and held his wrist. Her fingers were thin, but they held him with a strange strength. "Obedience is better than sacrifice," she whispered. "And please, do not tell your wife I said this." Her eyes were steady, like she was seeing something behind him. He swallowed. He tried again to give her the money. "Mama, take this money. I must pay you." She pulled her hand away sharply and turned her back. "I do not want your money," she said. "I gave you a bigger gift." Her voice was small, but it cut through him like a knife. Then she walked to the other side of her table and began arranging onions, refusing to look at him again. He stood there, confused, the money still in his hand. The market noise suddenly felt far away. Later that day, when he reached home, he told Ruth everything. The tomatoes, the old woman, the strange warning. Ruth shook her head and let out a soft laugh. "Forget these old people," she said. "They like to talk about danger, even when nothing is happening." She waved her hand and walked to the wardrobe. "Nothing will happen," she added. "We are going together." And she began to pack her clothes, humming softly as if the warning meant nothing at all. Finally, the last warning came on the day of the journey. The place buzzed with movement and noise. As Mr. Donatus and Ruth walked toward their bus, a small boy with dusty legs and a torn shirt came close to him. The boy pulled his sleeve gently. "Sir," the boy said, looking up, "do not enter this bus. Wait for the next one." Mr. Donatus looked down at him. The boy's eyes were wide and serious, too serious for his age. He gave a small smile. "Go home, my son," he said kindly. "It is too early for you to be here." But the boy did not move. Instead, he stared straight into his eyes and repeated slowly, word for word, "Obedience is better than sacrifice." The words hit him like cold water. He froze. His heart beat once, loud. The same warning, the same sentence, again. Before he could open his mouth, Ruth touched his shoulder. "Ignore him," she said, shaking her head. "Children say anything they hear adults say. Let us enter." The boy tugged his shirt once more, as if he wanted to say something else. But Ruth gently pulled her husband toward the bus. "Come," she said softly. "We will be late." So they entered the bus. The door closed behind them. The engine hummed. But the picture of the little boy with dusty legs and serious eyes did not leave Mr. Donatus's mind, not even for a moment. The journey started well. The sun was gentle, the road was free. People inside the bus were quiet. Some slept. Mr. Donatus held his wife's hand and looked outside. He thought about the pastor. He thought about the old woman. He thought about the little boy. Then he laughed inside his heart and said quietly, "They were all saying nonsense. Nothing is wrong." The bus kept moving for 3 hours. They were getting close to the long bush road. Then, suddenly, the driver slowed down. Everyone inside the bus looked ahead. On the road stood men wearing uniforms. They blocked the path. They waved for the bus to stop. The driver sighed and said, "Checkpoint." But his voice trembled a little. The bus rolled closer, closer, closer. Then, bang! A gunshot cracked through the air like lightning. The front tire burst. The whole bus jumped and shook. People screamed. A woman shouted, "My baby!" Another passenger grabbed the seat in front of him. The bus stopped with a loud groan. Before anyone could breathe, the men rushed forward. "Everyone out, now! Move!" they shouted. Guns pointed everywhere. Hands shaking. Voices shaking. Hearts shaking. People stumbled out. Bags fell to the ground. Shoes slipped off feet. A man dropped his phone. Once all the passengers were down, the men surrounded them like hungry wolves. One robber kicked a bag and shouted, "Bring your phones." Another shouted, "Money, fast!" They collected everything: phones, wallets, small bags, big bags, even wristwatches. The driver knelt down. A woman cried. A boy held his mother's wrapper tightly, shaking like a leaf in a storm. The robbers moved fast, angry, loud, like fire spreading on dry grass. As the robbers finished collecting things, one of them, a tall man with a scar on his cheek, walked straight to Mr. Donatus. "You!" he barked. "Stand here!" Mr. Donatus stepped forward slowly. His hands shook. His legs felt weak. The robber pointed his gun at him. "Who are you traveling with?" he demanded. Mr. Donatus did not think twice. He pointed at Ruth. "She is my wife," he said. Ruth was standing behind him, her face pale, her eyes wide, her hands trembling. But suddenly, she stepped back, quickly, too quickly. Then she shook her head, fast, hard, like someone trying to remove water from her hair. She said loudly, "I do not know him." The words cut through him like a knife. He stopped breathing for a moment. His eyes widened. "Ruth," he whispered, "what are you saying?" He stepped toward her, confused, hurt, shaking. But before he reached her, slap! A robber struck him across the face. A hot, sharp pain spread over his cheek. "Liar!" the robber shouted. "Come with us." Two men grabbed him by the arms. Ruth turned her face away. She did not look at him. She did not say a word. The robbers dragged him away from the group. They did not touch Ruth. They did not touch the others. They did not take anyone else. Only him. Just him. He looked back one last time. Ruth stood still, her body frozen like a tree in cold wind. His heart broke inside his chest, slowly, loudly, painfully, as they pulled him into the bush. The moment they dragged him away from the others, the world around him changed. The open road vanished. Voices faded. The bright sun became dim behind the trees. One robber grabbed a black cloth. "Cover his eyes," another said. They blindfolded him. Darkness wrapped around his face like a thick night. He couldn't see anything. Not the sky, not the trees, not even his own hands. Then they bent down and pulled off his shoes. "Walk," someone ordered. A hard push followed. He stumbled forward. His bare feet landed on sharp stones. He gasped. Then he stepped on dry sticks that snapped and dug into his skin. He winced. His legs shook. But they pushed him again. Move! And so he walked. The forest swallowed him. The path was rough. The ground was unforgiving. His feet burned like fire. All day they walked deeper into the bush. Leaves slapped his legs. Branches scratched his arms. Thorns pricked his toes. Every time he slowed down, someone hit his back. Hurry! His breath became heavy. Sweat mixed with dust on his skin. As he walked, his mind returned to the pastor. My son, do not travel with your wife. The voice echoed in his head like a drum in a quiet room. Then he remembered the old woman at the market. I gave you a bigger gift. Her eyes had looked straight into his soul. Then the little boy, small, dusty, serious. Obedience is better than sacrifice. The words repeated themselves until they became like footsteps inside his heart. Tears rolled down his cheeks beneath the blindfold. They felt hot, but he kept walking. The robbers did not stop. Even when the sun began to fall, they kept moving. The sky turned orange, then purple, then black. Night swallowed the forest. At last, they stopped in a small clearing. They pushed him to the ground. Tie his hands, one robber said. Rough ropes circled his wrists. They tied him to a small tree stump. His hands throbbed. His legs trembled. His feet were swollen. The robbers sat nearby, talking and laughing as if nothing was happening. Someone lit a small fire. The flames flickered like tiny red tongues. Nobody slept. Mosquitoes whispered in his ears. Night insects sang. The cold crept into his bones like ice. His heart beat loudly in his chest. He was alone, blind, barefoot, tied, scared. The only thing he had was his breath and regret. Morning came slowly, like a tired child rubbing sleep from its eyes. The robbers untied him and pulled off the blindfold. Light stabbed into his eyes. He blinked hard. A robber threw a bottle of water at him. Drink, he said. No food, no bread, just water. He drank slowly, his hands shaking. Then a robber with a deep voice stepped close. Call your parents, the man said. Mr. Donatus shook his head and cried softly. My parents are old, he whispered. They do not have anything. They cannot help. The robber's face hardened. He grabbed him by the collar. You have a wife, right? He nodded slowly, very slowly. His chest moved up and down like someone struggling to breathe. The robber shoved a phone at him. Call her. His fingers trembled as he dialed the number. The phone rang. Once, twice. Then she picked. Hello, Ruth's voice came. Calm, smooth, not shaking. He swallowed. Ruth, it is me, he said softly. They want 50 million. There was a long silence. Then Ruth shouted, 50 million? I only have 40,000. Her voice cracked through the phone like a broken plate. The robber snatched the phone from him and growled into it. 5 days, or he dies. Then he ended the call and tossed the phone aside. Mr. Donatus closed his eyes. His body went weak. His heart felt like a stone falling into deep water. And the bush became quiet again. Too quiet, like the world was holding its breath. The days in the bush felt like weeks. Mr. Donatus had no one except his wife and his old parents, and even they were far away. The robbers beat him every 5 hours. They beat him in the morning. They beat him in the afternoon. They beat him at night. Their hands were heavy like stones. Each blow fell on him like hot iron. He cried for help, He cried until his throat felt dry. He cried until he could not hear his own voice anymore. "Please, somebody help me," he whispered each time. But the forest stayed silent. Even the birds refused to sing. One afternoon, as he lay shaking on the ground, with dust on his face and pain in his bones, an idea came to him. It came slowly, like a small fire creeping into dry grass. He thought about his wife. He thought about his home. He thought about the house he built with sweat. He thought about the cars he worked hard to buy. He thought about the money he saved for years. He had nobody else, only her. His hands trembled as he asked the robber for the phone again. "Call her," the robber said. He dialed with weak fingers. The phone rang. She picked. "Ruth." His voice was thin, like a dying flame. "Please, sell my house. It is worth 35 million. Sell my cars too. I have 10 million in my account. Use everything. Just, please, help me." His tears dropped to the ground like tiny pieces of rain. He told her where he kept the documents. He told her how to open the drawers. He told her where the key to the file box was hidden. Ruth said softly, "Okay, I will do it." For the first time, hope touched his heart, but the robbers were not patient. The next day, they called her again. They dialed once, twice, 3 times. The phone said, "The number you are trying to call is not valid." Again, "This number is no longer available." The robber frowned and handed the phone to him. "Call again," he shouted. He tried. His hand shook. He tried again. Each time, the same thing. Not valid. His breath stopped. He dropped the phone. His eyes went blank. His body felt empty. He fainted. The robbers poured water on him, but he did not wake. They slapped him. Still nothing. Then they beat him again. Harder this time. Angrier this time. When he woke up, pain covered his whole body. Before he could breathe, a robber lifted a heavy stick. Crack! They broke one of his legs. His scream echoed through the bush like a wounded animal. Then they dragged him like a sack of sand, like he was nothing, like a thing. They carried him through the bush road until they reached the main express. They dumped him on the ground like trash. No shoes, no bag, no wife, no money, nothing. He lay there, shaking, waiting for someone to find him. Darkness covered him like a blanket. The next morning, with the help of a passerby, he woke up in the hospital. White ceiling, cold air, pain everywhere. His leg was wrapped in thick bandage. He could not move it. He could barely move at all. A nurse came close. "You are lucky to be alive," she said gently. But he did not feel lucky. He felt empty, like a calabash with nothing inside. When they discharged him days later, he used crutches. Each step hurt like fire. But he wanted to go home, to his wife, to his house, to his life. When he reached the compound and knocked on the gate, a man he had never seen opened it. "Yes? Who are you?" the man asked. "I live here," Mr. Donato said, breathing hard. The man frowned. "This house was sold," he replied. "A woman sold it. She said her husband had moved abroad forever." Mr. Donato's heart stopped. His crutches shook. His lips trembled. "What? What did you say?" he whispered. Before the man could answer, neighbors saw him. They screamed, "Jesu, you are alive? You came back? Your wife said you traveled abroad permanently. She told us she sold everything because you left." He sat on the floor, right there at the gate, dust on his trousers, tears on his face. He cried with the deep cry of a broken man. He told them everything, how the robbers captured him, how they beat him, how he begged, how he believed his wife, how he sold everything for her to save him, how she disappeared, how her line became invalid. The neighbors held their heads. Some sat on the ground, some covered their mouths. One woman whispered, "Ah, this is wickedness of the highest kind." Another said, "This woman has finished this man." An old man shook his head slowly. "This is why the pastor warned you," he said quietly. "This is why the old woman warned you. This is why the little boy spoke." But it was too late. Too late for warnings. Too late for turning back. And the truth of Ruth's betrayal sat on his chest like a heavy stone he could never lift. After the shock at the gate, after the cries, after the neighbors gathered around him like birds around spilled grain, Mr. Donatus wiped his tears and stood up slowly, leaning on his crutches. His leg hurt. His heart hurt more. But he knew he had to move. He went straight to the police station. "I need help," he said, his voice shaking. "My wife stole everything I have. She sold my houses. She sold my cars. She took my money. She left me to die." The officers listened. They wrote down his words. They nodded. Then they began the search. For days, they looked everywhere. They went to banks. They checked phone numbers. They traced calls. They visited addresses. At last, they went with him to the house where he had first met her parents. The small house with the brown door. The place where he had knelt to greet the people he thought were his in-laws. But when they arrived, the compound was empty. No chairs, no clothes on the line, no people. The neighbors there said, "They moved out last week. They left in a hurry. They did not tell anyone where they were going." The police wrote it down, and that was the day the truth began to open itself like a calabash with a cracked lid. A week later, the police found something. They called him. "Come to the station," they said. "We have news." When he arrived, they showed him a document, a photo, a name. Not Ruth, not Mrs. Donatus. Her real name, Cindy. A woman with a long record. A woman with a dark path. They told him the truth slowly, like peeling layers from a bitter fruit. She was a drug dealer, the officer said. She was a prostitute in Jos, another added. She ran away because she owed dangerous people money, a third officer said. She hid in Lagos, pretending to be someone new. She removed all her piercings so she would look innocent. She dressed like a gentlewoman so people would trust her. She tricked you. She studied you. She watched your money. She planned everything slowly. He sat in the chair, frozen. His heart felt like someone was squeezing it. Then came the biggest cut. She paid people to act like her parents, the officer said. That house you visited. Those people. She hired them. He closed his eyes. The memory burned. How he bowed. How he greeted. How he felt honored. It was all a lie. A long, careful lie. She married him only to take everything he had. The robbery, the abduction, the ransom demand, all connected. Days passed. Weeks passed. Then, one morning the police called him again. We found her, they said. He went to the station. His heart pounded like a drum. They told him Cindy had been caught in Abuja. She was with 3 men. One of them escaped. But the police caught the rest. They brought back half of the stolen money. Crumpled notes, dirty bundles, scattered pieces. The officers dragged Cindy and the men inside the room. Their clothes were torn. Their faces were swollen from beatings. They looked wild and defeated, like animals trapped in a net. Cindy did not look at him, not once. She kept her head down. She had no scarf this time, no gentle dress, no fake smile, just handcuffs. The officers read their charges: kidnapping, robbery, fraud, identity theft, conspiracy, attempted murder. The court session was fast and sharp, like the swing of a machete. The judge looked at them and said, "Life imprisonment with hard labor." The gavel hit the wood. It was over. As they were led away, Cindy lifted her head for 1 second. Her eyes met his. There was no love in them, no shame, no mercy, just emptiness. He looked at her and felt nothing but a cold wind inside his chest, because within 7 days, his whole life had collapsed. His house, his cars, his money, his trust, his marriage, his peace, gone. All because he trusted someone who wore a sweet smile but carried a heavy lie. And as he stepped outside the courtroom, leaning on his crutches, his face tired, his heart bruised, he whispered to himself, "This is how my life changed. This is how 1 week took everything from me." The sun outside was bright. People were walking, cars were moving, life was continuing, and somewhere in the wind, the voices came back, soft, heavy, warning. Obedience is better than sacrifice. I hope you enjoyed the story. If so, please like the video, comment what you learned from the tale, share with friends and family, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more African folk tales just like this one. Thank you.